I'm going to be dodging backwards and forwards a bit because I'm going to read from some different books. This is a recent anthology. It's actually produced by Huddersfield University, and I feel slightly guilty because I think I'm a bit too much of a southerner to make it up to any of their launches. So I'm going to read two from here. Van Gogh's Other Mistress. When she smells their daughter's fresh citrus scent, oranges fill her mouth and throat, sweet from Arles. When their son's hair strokes her cheek, she savours ice cream melting, vanilla sunflowers on her tongue. When his whisper brushes old promises, she hears his ear unspiral, teeth crunch on bone. She tastes nothing but paint. And the second one's where? The proper place for a secret is not the dust under your valanced bed or the back of a wardrobe, even if locked. The family closet is not discreet. You may try wrapping it in layers of tissue, placed in a small bag, sewing this into your heart, smooth and seamless, before stitching closed your mouth. You might fold up its flesh inside a steel box, then bury this at night, some soil-smothered grave, at the bottom of a garden overgrown with weeds. But those bones will give it away, even as it rests stiller than the earth in the hollow of your skull, beneath this wasteland with its bramble chains. Some dog, some badger will dig it, will smell it and dig it up. This is fact. See how your speech, your eyes, your twitching hands already reveal it. Now, at some point, doing guest slots, I decided it would be a really nice idea to ask the people who are inviting me along if they had a poem that they'd like me to read, especially for that occasion. It's brought up some interesting choices, mostly ones I can cope with, and this is the one that Anthony asked for tonight. Hemoglobin. Doctors sum up her loss in a plummeting language of numbers. They can't figure out how she's strong enough to stand. Her hemoglobin's all wrong. And her hemoglobin, that premature pixie thing in its trolley box. She must concentrate. Her heart rate is fast, reactions slow. Tablets won't help iron it out. She needs a transfusion. Red plastic is pumped into her arm through a kite string too slack to fly, while the grounded blanket wails and Red plastic is pumped into her arm through a kite string too slack to fly, while the grounded blanket wails, and rings still won't fit her stubby fingers. Fat cigars smoked, not to the baby's arrival, or the replacement of her lost lifeblood. No, hot embers scar her arm with the pain of something she's missing. Bit of gin too. Having read that one, I'm going to follow with something a little bit more light-hearted. I do have 2 boys, and they really are the life and soul of our house. And it always amazes me how much they react to music in particular. Instrumental. He is almost an orchestra. Air flute, trombone, guitar. His fat fingers pluck the beat from thin air. A one-boy band of Bohemian Rhapsody, Flash Gordon, Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars. Words slither over him unabsorbed, but music surges through his cells in a flow of electrical charge. Strong bass, air organ, drum roll cartwheeling him rock style onto his back with a wild fandango of limbs that twangs the strings of my heart. It's thirsty work, this guest poet. I don't know about everyone else, but I sometimes dread picking up the newspaper. Seems to be an awful lot of bad news in it most of the time. But occasionally there'll be these odd, hard to find, but remarkable stories of real-life miracles and real-life survivals. Unsubmerged. In Dominica, an earthquake cracked Roger's home like a walnut. His wife's omelette pan skipped off the stove. Their bed hopped the floor. Chairs pirouetted into shaking walls. But, cotted snug in a box for their breakfast, 6 eggs, unbroken. Visiting his mother in Granada, a hurricane peeled her house like an orange. Winds stacked roofs, turned tamarind trees into mops, uprooted nutmeg plantations, but left the glass of his daughter's portrait a smooth, unrippled ocean. Half submerged in New Orleans, Roger's shoes walked in pairs on water. Tables arced, chairs waded out the doors, and dead rats trailed the apartment stairs, while his daughter's dress hung freshly pressed on her bedroom door, dry and pink with flowers. I'm going to read a few newer ones now. And this is the one where Gary and I were kind of exchanging glances earlier. I think it was end of March, there was the Northfield Arts Trail, and Helen Calcutt ran a workshop at which Gary and I happened to both be present, and we were given a task of swapping memories and then writing up each other's memories in a poem. I hasten to add that there's quite a bit of poetic licence been taken with Gary's story here. Slipping. His daughter's hands have never looked so small as now, ringed with silver-plated red and black glass, taking his empty mug, hugging her mother. From the car, he stares at the university's block of filed windows. He can't see her waving, can't be sure which smear of glass is hers. He remembers her 6th birthday, that plastic gem ring, and the skirt he bought her on a whim. She skipped home beside him, her hand in his. The skirt grew shorter, fabric worn, flowers greyer, fewer than onto ponies and horses, her velveted back upright, hands together on those reins. The controlled rise and fall of her shoulders nudged his skyline as she trotted in front. Except for one day, cantering out to the wilderness, into that thunderstorm. Both horses spooked. She half called for help. He half grabbed to steady her. The reins out of reach, backs bent, arms clenched round rearing necks. Then a desperate loosening of fear, grabbing of mane and reins, firm lining of lips, as she brought her own horse to a standstill. Driving home that day, as again now, his hands gripped the steering wheel, one clenched fist tight, the other loose, moulded plastic slipping through. I'm not entirely sure how I'm doing on time, but I think I'm just going to do another 2 if that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Always good when the person who's invited you is listening. This one's from a holiday anecdote. A piece of art. I scurry back to my Aristeria shell. A mock fisherman's shack, mosaicked in intricate patterns. Portholes set in stone. I rattle alone in its vastness, too small to raise an echo within these walls. Down from the cliff drop, surf hurls its noise at the rocks, struggles against drips, breaks its own shell mosaic as it contours its rough shape into shoreline ridges. Nearer, yet still far off, 2 linked hand strangers absorb the sand's ebbing heat, their feet moulding a makeshift path across the beach, just ahead of the tide. No sign of the rivers which mixed this palette. The couple disappear. Evening light folds to night ocean. Leaving my portholed outlook, I wander at the stars, set so far apart, like the last splashes in a dried up sky. What happens then to this art? I skim a shell at the waves. Darkness engulfs it. I imagine it drowning slowly in its own echoes as water reclaims the emptiness. Final swig for the final poem. This is more of a performance poem, just to end the set. You're all very well behaved in here. Not the case in all places I've been, particularly not on a Saturday night. This was supposed to be an alphabet poem, but like a lot of things that happen on a Saturday night, it's tried maybe to be a little bit too clever. And said, well, said really. The abracadabraca of pickled paprika, or an ABC guide to surviving Saturday nights. An easy way to outsurvive the frights besetting typical Saturday nights comes with a peck of hot chilli or pickled paprika dropped into Yob's drinks. A eureka, elbow nudge in the ribs of those who squeeze folk against bars, forget to say a please. Give happy spirits jip, get on your wig, get on your tits, or regurgitate sick. Heaving hairy armpits right in your face is invading one's oh-so-personal space. Just the odd spoonful's all it really takes. Kicking some arse into their glass, a taste loaded with gasps and wheezes. Reflection, mate, for the need for great introspection. Not picking bogies into my cleavage, or splashing puke on someone else's new shoes. Proud farts and loud belches are sure no-nos. Quite unforgivable, in fact. And most repugnant of all, the bog push and shove. Swiping all the loo roll, calling me love, taking the piss with familiarity, unbecoming in this locality, vouchsafes a chilly, peppered response. Exclamation, proclamation, you ponce, you prat, you pickled paprika pecked punk. Zoot the floor, I did warn you, zoot the floor, you Saturday night drunk. Thank you.